Here's a scenario that should keep you up at night. The supply chains collapse tomorrow. Grocery stores are emptied within hours, and your family is looking at you asking what's for dinner. Not just tonight, but for the next 3 months. You have an answer? Because if you're relying on what's currently in your kitchen, chances are you're in trouble within a week. October be too if you're lucky. The difference between smart preppers and everyone else isn't paranoia, it's preparation. They're not randomly grabbing whatever's on sale. They're building strategic food reserves based on caloric density, storage capability, nutritional completeness, and real-world practicality. And if you're paying attention to what's happening right now in October 2025, the writing's on the wall. Economic instability, geopolitical powder kegs ready to blow, and supply chains held together with duct tape and prayers. In this video, we're breaking down the 8 critical survival foods that experienced preppers are quietly accumulating right now. These aren't trendy superfoods or Instagram-worthy meal kits. These are the unglamorous, battle-tested staples that will keep you and your loved ones fed, healthy, and functional when the system fails. We're starting with number 8 and working our way up to the single most important food item you should be stocking today. Let's get into it. Peanut butter. Number 8, peanut butter. Kicking off our countdown at number 8 is something you probably already have in your pantry, but not nearly enough of it. Peanut butter. And now I'm not talking about that organic, all-natural stuff that separates and goes rancid in 3 months. I'm talking about the good old-fashioned, preservative-packed, shelf-stable peanut butter that your grandparents trusted and that preppers are buying by the case. Here's why peanut butter deserves serious respect in your survival strategy. We're looking at a shelf life of 1 to 2 years unopened, and even longer if you go for the commercial brands with stabilizers. But the real magic happens when you transfer it to mason jars with oxygen absorbers. Do that, and you're looking at 4 to 5 years of viable, calorie-dense food that requires zero preparation. Let's talk nutrition, because this is where peanut butter becomes a legitimate survival asset. 2 tablespoons, just 2, delivers around 190 calories, 16 grams of fat, and 7 to 8 grams of protein. That's not a snack, that's fuel. In a scenario where you're burning calories just trying to stay warm or hauling water or fortifying your property, those dense calories matter a lot. And unlike most high-calorie foods, peanut butter doesn't need cooking, doesn't need refrigeration, and doesn't require any tools beyond a spoon or even just your finger, if we're being honest. But it's the versatility that makes preppers take notice. Peanut butter isn't just something you spread on bread. You can mix it into oatmeal for extra calories and flavor, stir it into soups and stews to add richness and protein, eat it straight from the jar when you need quick energy, use it as a base for homemade energy bars, even barter it when other luxury items become currency. People crave fat and flavor in a crisis, and peanut butter delivers both. Now, why is it number 8 and not higher? Simple. It's not a complete food. You can't survive on peanut butter alone. It lacks certain vitamins and minerals, and let's be real, eating nothing but peanut butter for weeks would break most people mentally. But as a supplement, as a calorie booster, as a morale enhancer when everything else tastes like cardboard, it's absolutely essential. Smart preppers are grabbing multiple jars every shopping trip, rotating stock, and treating it like the tactical food resource it actually is. Canned vegetables. Number 7, canned vegetables. Coming in at number 7, we have something most people walk right past in the grocery store without a second thought. Canned vegetables. Corn, green beans, carrots, peas, mixed vegetables. They're boring, they're cheap, and they're absolutely critical to your survival stockpile. Let's address the elephant in the room first. Fresh vegetables are better, obviously, but fresh vegetables are also useless in a long-term emergency because they rot in days. Frozen vegetables require power you won't have. Dehydrated vegetables need water you might not be able to spare. Canned vegetables, they sit there, completely stable, for 2 to 5 years minimum, and if stored properly, they can remain safe to eat well beyond that. But this isn't just about shelf life, it's about what your body actually needs. In a survival situation, everyone focuses on calories and protein, which is smart. But you know what people forget? Micronutrients, vitamins, A, C, K, minerals like potassium and magnesium.
Fiber to keep your digestive system from completely shutting down. Canned vegetables provide all of that. A can of spinach gives you vitamin K and iron. Canned carrots deliver vitamin A for eye health and immune function. Canned tomatoes are loaded with vitamin C and lycopene. And here's the thing preppers understand that most people miss. When you're eating nothing but grains, beans, and preserved meats, your body starts craving vegetables. Not just nutritionally, but psychologically. That little bit of color on your plate, that slightly different texture, it matters more than you think. It's the difference between grinding through another day of survival mode and actually maintaining some quality of life. The practicality is another huge factor. Canned vegetables are ready to eat. No soaking, no long cook times. You can eat them cold straight from the can if you have to. You can heat them up for comfort. You can toss them into literally any meal you're making. Rice, pasta, stew, soup, casserole. They bulk up meals without adding much cost, and they add nutritional value to otherwise basic survival foods. Storage is simple too. Cans stack efficiently. They're durable enough to handle rough conditions. They don't attract pests the way dried foods can. And they're still affordable, which means you can buy in bulk without destroying your budget. A case of mixed vegetables might cost you $15 to $20 and provide nutritional insurance for weeks. So while canned vegetables might not be exciting, and they definitely don't have the sexy factor of tactical freeze-dried meals, they're doing something far more important. They're keeping your body functional when everything else is falling apart. And that's why smart preppers are loading up. Oats. Number 6. Oats. At number 6, we've got a survival food that's been keeping humans alive for literally thousands of years, and it's still one of the smartest things you can stockpile today. Oats, specifically rolled oats or steel-cut oats, not the instant packets loaded with sugar. I'm talking about plain, basic, bulk oats that you can buy in massive quantities for almost nothing. Let's start with the economics, because this is where oats become a no-brainer. A 25-pound bag of oats costs about $20 to $30 depending on where you buy it. That bag contains roughly 50,000 calories. Let that sink in. For the price of a couple of fast food meals, you're getting enough calories to sustain a person for weeks. The cost per calorie is almost unbeatable, which is exactly why preppers who understand logistics are buying oats by the pallet. Shelf life? When stored properly in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, whole oats can last 30 years. Yes, 30. Rolled oats, which are slightly more processed, still give you 10 to 15 years. That kind of longevity means you're not just prepping for the next crisis. You're building a food security system that could outlast most of the other items in your house. Nutritionally, oats are shockingly complete for a grain. You're getting complex carbohydrates for sustained energy, not the spike and crash of simple sugars. You're getting protein, about 5 grams per serving. You're getting fiber, lots of it, which keeps your digestive system running smoothly when stress and dietary changes would otherwise wreck it. And you're getting essential minerals like manganese, phosphorus, magnesium, and iron. But what makes oats truly valuable is their versatility. You can make them sweet or savory, mix them with honey and dried fruit for a breakfast that actually tastes good, cook them with salt and vegetables for a savory porridge, grind them into flour for baking, use them to thicken soups and stews, add them to ground meat to stretch your portions, make granola bars for portable energy. The applications are nearly endless, which means you won't get flavor fatigue the way you would with more one-dimensional foods. Preparation is also ridiculously simple. Boil water, add oats, wait 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. No complicated techniques, no special equipment. Even if you're cooking over a basic camp stove or an open fire, oats work. And if water is scarce, you can eat them raw after soaking them in cold water overnight. Not ideal, but functional. The reason oats aren't higher on this list is that they're not a complete food on their own. You need protein sources, you need fats, you need vegetables. But as a foundational carbohydrate, as something that gives you energy and fills your stomach without draining your wallet, oats are absolutely critical. Preppers who skip oats are making a mistake, plain and simple. Salt. Number 5, salt. Here's something that will surprise most people. At number 5, we don't have a food at all. We have the thing that makes food edible, preservable, and essential to human survival. Salt. And I'm not talking about that fancy Himalayan pink salt or sea salt from artisan markets.
I'm talking about cheap, bulk, iodized table salt and canning salt that you can buy in 25 to 50-pound bags. Let's get the history lesson out of the way, because it matters. Salt has been so valuable throughout human civilization that wars were fought over it, trade routes were built around it, and people were literally paid in salt. That's where the word salary comes from. Salt wasn't just important, it was survival. And in a modern collapse scenario, that importance comes roaring back. First, let's talk preservation. Before refrigeration existed, salt was how humans kept meat, fish, and vegetables from spoiling. Curing, brining, pickling. All of these techniques rely on salt. If you manage to hunt game or raise livestock or harvest a garden, you're going to need salt to preserve that food for later. Without it, you're eating everything immediately or watching it rot. With salt, you can extend the life of fresh food for months or even years. But salt's role goes way beyond preservation. Your body literally cannot function without sodium. It regulates fluid balance, nerve transmission, and muscle contraction. When you're sweating, working hard, or dealing with heat, you're losing salt. And if you don't replace it, you risk dehydration, cramping, and eventually organ failure. In a crisis situation where you're physically active and possibly rationing water, adequate salt intake becomes critical. Then there's flavor. This might sound trivial until you've been eating bland survival food for 2 weeks straight. Salt makes almost everything taste better. It enhances flavors, balances bitterness, and turns boring staples into something you'll actually want to eat. And in a long-term survival scenario, morale is survival. If your food tastes miserable, people lose the will to keep going. Salt solves that problem with just a pinch. Storage is another massive advantage. Salt doesn't expire, ever. It's a mineral, not a biological substance. As long as it stays dry, it'll be just as good in 50 years as it is today. No rotation needed, no spoilage risk. You buy it once and forget about it until you need it. Cost is almost laughable. A 25-pound bag of salt costs over $10 to $15. That's it. For something that critical, that versatile, and that permanent, the price point makes it one of the most efficient prep purchases you can make. And here's the bonus. Salt becomes valuable trade goods in a barter economy. When the grid is down and people are desperate to preserve meat or improve their food or meet their body's sodium needs, salt becomes worth its weight in quite a lot. You can trade a pound of salt for goods and services that cost you pennies to acquire. So no, salt isn't food, but without it, all your other food becomes significantly less useful. Smart preppers stock salt in bulk and store it properly because they understand that the little things make the big things possible. Cooking oil. Number 4, cooking oil. At number 4, we're talking about something that most people completely overlook when building a survival stockpile, and that's a huge mistake: cooking oil. Specifically, oils with long shelf lives like coconut oil, olive oil, and vegetable oil. And before you think this is just about making food taste better, let me tell you why serious preppers are hoarding this stuff. Let's start with the most important thing: calories. Fat contains 9 calories per gram, more than double what you get from carbohydrates or protein. In a survival scenario where food is scarce and you're burning energy just staying alive, fat is the most efficient way to fuel your body. A single tablespoon of oil gives you about 120 calories of pure energy. That's massive. You can stretch your food supply significantly by adding oil to meals, turning a barely adequate portion into something that actually sustains you. But if you're keeping sealed and kneel away from heat and light, gives you at least a year. The key is buying the right types and storing them properly. But oil isn't just about calories, it's about making food functional. Try cooking rice without oil. It sticks to the pot and burns.
Try frying canned meat or vegetables without oil. Doesn't work. Try baking anything without fat. Good luck. Oil is what makes cooking actually possible, especially when you're working with basic ingredients and limited equipment. And then there's nutrition. Your body needs dietary fat to absorb fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Without fat in your diet, you can eat all the vegetables you want and still develop deficiencies. Fat is also essential for hormone production, brain function, and cell membrane health. Cutting fat from your survival diet isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Versatility is another key factor. Cooking oil can be used for sautéing, frying, baking, and making salad dressings. It can be mixed into grains to add richness and calories. It can be used to preserve herbs by making infused oils. And here's something most people don't know. In an absolute pinch, certain oils can be used for lamp fuel or as a base for homemade soap. That kind of multi-use functionality is gold in a crisis. Storage requires some care. Keep your oils in a cool, dark place. Heat and light break down fats and cause rancidity. If you're storing long-term, consider vacuum sealing bottles or transferring oil to smaller containers with minimal air exposure. Some preppers even freeze oil to extend its life, though that requires consistent power. The reason cooking oil sits at number 4 is simple. Without it, your other foods become harder to prepare, less nutritious, and far less calorie-dense. It's a force multiplier for your entire stockpile. Preppers who ignore cooking oil are making their survival situation unnecessarily difficult. White rice. Number 3, white rice. At number 3, we have the single most consumed staple food on planet Earth, and there's a reason for that. White rice. Not brown rice, we'll get to why in a second. I'm talking about plain, long-grain white rice that you can buy in 20 or 50-pound bags for almost nothing. Let's talk shelf life first because this is where white rice absolutely dominates. When stored properly in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, white rice can last 30 years or more. Yes, 30. You could store rice today and your grandchildren could eat it. The reason is simple. White rice has had the bran and germ removed, which means it has almost no oils that can go rancid. It's just pure, starchy endosperm, and that stuff lasts essentially forever. Now, some people will say, but brown rice is healthier, and they're right. Brown rice has more fiber, more vitamins, more minerals. It's nutritionally superior. But brown rice only lasts 6 months to a year before the oils in the bran go rancid and it becomes inedible. For long-term storage, brown rice is a liability. White rice is the correct choice, and preppers figured this out a long time ago. Nutritionally, white rice gives you what you need most in a crisis. Carbohydrates, energy. About 200 calories per cooked cup. It's not fancy, but it works. Your body runs on glucose, and rice provides it efficiently. When you're chopping wood, hauling water, standing guard, or doing any of the 1,000 physically demanding tasks that come with grid-down survival, you need fuel. Rice is that fuel. But the real genius of rice is its versatility. Rice goes with everything. Beans, canned meat, vegetables, eggs, sauces, soups, stews. It absorbs flavors, stretches meals, and provides bulk that keeps people full. You can eat it 3 times a day, and as long as you're varying what you put on it, you won't go insane from repetition. That's critical for long-term survival. Preparation is also straightforward. Boil water, add rice, cover and simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. Done. No complicated techniques, no special equipment. Even if you're cooking over a fire, rice works. And if fuel is limited, you can use the absorption method, or even cook it in a thermos with hot water to conserve energy. Cost per calorie is where rice becomes almost unbeatable. A 20-pound bag costs about $10 to $15 and contains roughly 30,000 calories. That's enough to feed one person for 2 weeks or more. Compare that to almost any other food, and rice wins on pure economics. The only downside? Rice isn't a complete protein. It's low in essential amino acids, particularly lysine. That's why preppers pair rice with beans or lentils. Together, they form a complete protein. Rice plus beans equals survival.
It's a formula that's kept civilizations alive for thousands of years, and it'll keep you alive too. At number 3, white rice isn't just a good prep, it's a foundational prep. If you're not stocking rice in bulk, you're not serious about food security. Water purification tablets. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, wait, that's not food. And you're right. But here's the thing. At number 2, we need to talk about water purification tablets because without clean water, every single food item on this list becomes worthless. You can have a bunker full of rice and beans, but if you can't safely drink water, you're dead in 3 days. That's not dramatic. That's biology. Let's break down why smart preppers are stockpiling water purification tablets like they're gold. First, the obvious. Water is survival. Food is important, absolutely.
But your body can go weeks without food. Water? 3 days? Maybe 4 if you're lucky and inactive? After that, your organs start shutting down. So before you even think about your food stockpile, you need to solve the water problem. Now, you might be thinking, I'll just boil water. Great plan, except boiling requires fuel, time, and equipment. What if fuel is scarce? What if you're on the move? What if you need clean water immediately and don't have 10 minutes to boil and cool it? That's where water purification tablets come in. Drop a tablet in contaminated water, wait 30 minutes to an hour depending on the type, and you've got safe drinking water. No fire needed, no equipment needed, just the tablet and time. Shelf life on quality purification tablets is impressive. Brands like Potable Aqua or AquaTabs can last 4 to 5 years or more if stored properly, sealed, away from heat and moisture. Some formulations last even longer. That means you can buy them now and forget about them until you need them. No rotation, no maintenance, just reliable chemical insurance. Let's talk types, because not all purification tablets are equal. Iodine tablets are classic. They kill bacteria, viruses, and most protozoa. Downside, they taste terrible and aren't recommended for pregnant women or people with thyroid issues. Chlorine dioxide tablets are more modern. They're more effective against cryptosporidium. They taste better, and they don't have the same health restrictions. Many preppers stock both for redundancy. The portability factor cannot be overstated. A bottle of 50 purification tablets weighs almost nothing and takes up the space of a deck of cards. Those 50 tablets can purify 25 to 50 liters of water, depending on the brand. If you're bugging out, if you're evacuating, if you're mobile for any reason, carrying water is impossible. Carrying purification tablets is effortless. Cost is minimal. A bottle of tablets costs $10 to $15. For that price, you're getting the ability to produce dozens of liters of safe water. Compare that to the cost and weight of bottled water, and it's no contest. You simply cannot store enough bottled water for a long-term crisis, but you can store enough purification tablets to last months or even years. Here's the reality. Every prepper knows that water is the foundation. Food matters, but water comes first. And while filters and boiling have their place, purification tablets are the most practical, portable, and reliable method for ensuring you have safe water when infrastructure collapses. At number 2, this isn't just smart prepping, it's mandatory prepping. Wheat berries. And finally, number 1, wheat berries. And here we are, number 1. The single most important survival food that every serious prepper should be stockpiling right now. Wheat berries. Not flour, not bread, not pasta. Whole, unprocessed wheat berries, also called wheat kernels. And if you don't understand why this is at the top, let me explain why this is the ultimate survival food. First, shelf life. This is where wheat berries become legendary. When stored in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers in a cool, dry environment, whole wheat berries can last 30 years or more. Some sources say indefinitely if conditions are right. We're talking about food you buy today that your children could inherit. That level of stability is almost unmatched in the food world. Now let's talk nutrition, because wheat berries are nutritionally dense in ways that processed wheat products simply aren't. You're getting complex carbohydrates for sustained energy. You're getting protein, about 6 grams per quarter cup of dry berries. You're getting fiber, B vitamins, iron, magnesium, and phosphorus. This isn't empty calories. This is real nutrition that keeps your body functional over the long term. But here's where wheat berries separate themselves from everything else: versatility. With a grain mill or even a manual hand grinder, you can turn wheat berries into fresh flour whenever you need it. And fresh flour means bread, pancakes, tortillas, pasta, thickeners for soups and stews, baked goods, you name it. Suddenly, you're not just surviving. You're eating real food that tastes like food. Can't grind them? No problem. You can boil wheat berries whole and eat them like rice. They take longer to cook, about an hour, but they're chewy, nutty, and satisfying. You can add them to soups. You can mix them with vegetables and meat. You can even sprout them for fresh greens when vegetables are impossible to find. That's right. Wheat berries can produce fresh, vitamin-rich sprouts in just a few days with nothing but water. That's a game changer when scurvy becomes a real concern. Let's talk cost, because this is where wheat berries become a no-brainer. A 25-pound bag of wheat berries costs about $20 to $30 depending on where you buy it.
That bag contains roughly 40,000 calories. For $30, you're buying enough staple food to sustain a person for weeks. The cost per calorie is absurdly low, which is exactly why preppers focused on efficiency are buying wheat berries by the 100-pound bag. Storage is simple. Wheat berries are hard, dry, and resilient. They don't attract pests as easily as flour does. They don't clump or spoil like processed grains. Toss them in food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers and mylar liners, seal them up, and you're done. Decades of food security in a bucket. Now here's the catch. To maximize wheat berries, you need a grain mill. Manual mills can be bought for $50 to $100, and they require no power. Electric mills are faster but useless when the grid goes down. This is an upfront cost and a piece of equipment you need to acquire. But once you have it, you've got the ability to turn shelf-stable wheat into fresh food basically forever. The reason wheat berries are number one is simple. They combine extreme longevity, high nutrition, incredible versatility, and unbeatable cost efficiency into a single package. They're a complete survival solution in grain form. You can build an entire food system around wheat berries. Add in beans for complete protein, add in salt and oil for flavor and fat, add in water purification to make it all functional, and you've got the foundation of long-term survival. Preppers who understand logistics, who understand nutrition, who understand the actual math of feeding people through extended crises, they all come to the same conclusion. Wheat berries aren't just important, they're essential. And that's why they're number one on this list. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. Stock wheat berries. Stock them deep, and make sure you have a way to grind them. Everything else builds from there.